Have you ever really thought about what's clogging up the pipes in a big commercial kitchen? We all have this image in our minds of a simple, greasy villain, but you know what? The truth is a whole lot messier. So let's get into it. The easy answer, right? The one we all jump to is just grease. It's this simple, one-dimensional bad guy. Hot cooking oil, liquid fats, they go down their drain, they cool off, they solidify. It seems so obvious. And honestly, that's the story we've all been told for years. But what if that simple story is, well, just wrong? What if treating grease like it's just this one predictable thing is the huge mistake that leads to all those blocked drains, the foul smells, and yeah, those super expensive emergency callouts? Let's take a much closer look. Okay, so to really understand what's going on, we need to move past this simple idea of grease. We need to get to know its much more complicated and frankly way more interesting alter ego, fog. Fog. It stands for food, oil, and grease. And here is the absolute key takeaway. Fog is a category of waste, not just a single material. Think of it more like a chaotic, constantly changing soup of water, heat, detergents, proteins, starches, and tiny bits of food. Any system that's just designed to stop a bit of floating oil is already doomed to fail. So let's break that down. On the left, we have free oil. This is what we all picture when we think about grease, right? It floats on water. It's pretty easy to separate with just gravity. But here's the kicker. That's only a tiny part of the story. The real problem, the real challenge, is over on the right, emulsified oil. This is what happens when detergents get involved. They smash the oil into microscopic droplets that get suspended in the water, making them totally resistant to separation by gravity alone. And it doesn't stop there. Fog is this whole cocktail of other troublemakers. You've got dairy waste that creates these weird, unpredictable protein fat blobs. You have starches from stuff like pasta and potatoes that act like a superglue, making everything clump together. And then you have all these fine food solids. I like to call this the invisible volume thief because it just silently fills up your grease trap until it's completely useless. Okay, so if fog is this incredibly complex mixture, why are traditional systems so bad at dealing with it? Well, the answer is kind of shocking. The modern kitchen itself is practically designed to work against grease separation. Just think about it for a second. A commercial kitchen isn't some calm, predictable laboratory. It's a war zone of chemicals, high-pressure water, and extreme temperatures. All those cleaning agents, the constant blasting of water from sinks and dishwashers, it creates an incredibly hostile environment for any simple little grease trap trying to do its job. Let's look at the main weapon that kitchens are, ironically, using against themselves: detergents. I mean, these things are literally engineered to do one job incredibly well, to stop oil from separating from water. That's how they clean. They create those stable emulsions we just talked about, which lets the fog just sail right on past a simple grease trap. And this isn't misuse. This is just what they're supposed to do to keep a kitchen clean. And then you have the final boss, the commercial dishwasher. Man, this thing is a perfect storm. It combines intense heat, which makes grease flow like water, with super concentrated detergents, tons of fine food particles, and violent mechanical churning. What do you get? A wastewater stream that is almost impossible to separate. Trying to catch that stuff with a simple trap is like trying to catch mist with a fishing net. It just doesn't work. So, we've got the science down, we understand the problem, but what does this all mean for the bottom line? Because let me tell you, the consequences of getting fog management wrong go way, way beyond just a simple plumber's bill. In the UK, for instance, this is a really serious compliance issue. It's all governed by a very clear legal framework. You've got the Water Industry Act, which can hold a business liable for causing sewer blockages. You have building regulations that dictate exactly how drainage should be built. And there are even specific standards that define what an effective grease separator actually is. Trust me, saying, "I didn't know," is not a defense. And failing to comply? Yeah, that comes with a pretty hefty price tag. We're talking about significant fines for pollution. We're talking about the insane cost of ripping out a system that doesn't work and retrofitting a new one. There's that endless, frustrating cycle of maintenance callouts for blocked drains. And maybe worst of all, this serious damage to your business's reputation if a failure causes a public health scare. All right, enough of the doom and gloom. So how do we solve a problem this complex? It's not about finding some magic box you just plug in. It's about a fundamental shift in our thinking. From just trying to trap grease
to adopting a real strategy of prevention and effective management.
So, what's the real difference between a system that fails and one that actually works? Well, on the left, you've got all the common mistakes: units that are way too small, gadgets that claim to be self cleaning but aren't, and just plain ignoring the real problem. But over on the right, you have the principles that actually work: systems sized correctly so they have enough time to do their job, hygienic sealed units, and smart strategies like staff education and biological treatments. Look, an effective FOG strategy really comes down to four key pillars. Number one, prevention at the source. Train your staff, scrape those plates. It's the simplest and best first line of defense. Two, size for retention. Your system has to be big enough to hold the wastewater long enough for separation to actually happen. Three, hygiene. Use a sealed system to prevent nasty odors and keep your staff safe. And finally, four, biological treatment. Use good bacteria to your advantage to safely break down the FOG that builds up. It might seem like we're just talking about kitchen plumbing this whole time, but if we zoom out for a second, we can see that managing FOG responsibly is actually part of a much, much bigger picture. It directly connects the health of a single business to the health of our entire ecosystem. This quote from the UK government's Nature Restoration Fund fact sheet says it all, doesn't it? Preventing pollution from getting into our sewers and our waterways isn't just about avoiding a fine. It's a fundamental part of making sure that our businesses can thrive without destroying the natural environment that we all depend on. What starts in a kitchen sink ultimately ends up in our rivers and our seas. So we started with a really simple problem: grease. And what we found was this whole hidden world of chemistry and physics and biology. It really makes you wonder, what other simple problems are out there, just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to take a closer look? Thanks for joining me.